One of the biggest mysteries in the long history of Tamriel is the sudden disappearance of the Dwemer. The Dwemer were an advanced civilization that left their mark both on and under the lands that they inhabited. The ruins of their once great civilization spanned from Morrowind to Hammerfell, and from Skyrim to High Rock. The technology they created was so much more advanced than any other civilization in Tamriel that even as of the year 200 of the Fourth Era, over 3,700 years later, still nothing comes close to it. And yet, one day, around year 700 of the First Era, the Dwemer just disappeared. What they have left behind has baffled and intrigued scholars throughout all of Tamriel. The technology they created and had access to allowed the Dwemer to manufacture machines that lasted for thousands of years without requiring any maintenance. It is speculated that the Dwemer used a combination of geothermal power and steam to provide and maintain power to their cities. However, the Dwemer also used some kind of magic to power many of their animunculi. These include Dwemer constructs, automatons, centurions, spheres, and robots. These mechanical machines were protectors of Dwemer cities, almost like an automated police force. They were programmed to detect certain life forms or intruders and to eliminate them. These machines add to the allure and mystery of the Dwemer. The fact that, thousands of years later, they are still functioning is a testament to the technological superiority of the Dwemer. Their machines are also mysterious in that if they are removed from their Dwemer city of origin and taken too far away, they will no longer function. The Dwemer used some kind of magical wireless power system that evidently works forever, provided the machines are in range. So, where did the Dwemer come from? According to the Pocket Guide to the Empire 3rd edition, the Dwemer originally settled in Morrowind. This was in the early years of the First Era, and initial interactions in the area included skirmishes with the Chimer, who were descendants of the Elmeri, due to religious differences between the two groups. The Dwemer were largely agnostic and instead put their faith in science, technology, and magic. The Chimer, on the other hand, were devout Daedra worshippers. But, in year 240 of the First Era, Nords invaded Morrowind, and the Dwemer and Chimer chose to set aside their differences to defend their lands. This alliance became known as the First Council. Unfortunately for the Dwemer, most of Morrowind fell under the control of the Nords and became part of the First Empire. Vvardenfell remained the lone holdout, an island nation surrounded by Morrowind on 3 sides, which then became the independent Dwemer kingdom of Dwemerith. This kingdom would spawn different clans, however, and some of the Dwemer were not content just staying in Vvardenfell. In year 420 of the First Era, the Rorken clan left Vvardenfell, and according to legend, their leader threw the Volendrung hammer across Tamriel and would take his clan wherever it fell. The Rorken clan settled in what would come to be known as Hammerfell. Not long after, another clan left Vvardenfell, Clan Kragan. This Dwemer clan moved into Skyrim, and following the success of both of these clans, even more left the safety of Dwemerith to expand their reach across Tamriel. Because these Dwemer cities were underground, the Dwemer were incredibly difficult to eradicate from the land. Numerous attempts by the Nords in Skyrim to take back their land were unsuccessful, and the Dwemer thrived. Their enormous cities spanned miles underground, while many above them did not even know of their existence. As the Dwemer continued to thrive, they built a loose alliance of city-states. This created a strong coalition between the 4 major clans who had spread throughout Tamriel, which ensured that they would continue to prosper without any outside interference. This alliance proved to be weak when deposits of Aetherium were discovered deep underground. As the Dwemer continued to expand further underground, they came upon the rare and valuable blue crystal. The alliance worked together to mine and smelt the crystals, which ultimately resulted in the creation of the Aetherium Forge, for which this was its sole purpose. Using the forge, artifacts of tremendous power could be created. However, once the 4 main Dwemer clans understood the true power of the Aetherium Forge, their alliances quickly splintered before devolving into an all-out war. This war raged on for decades and became known as the Aetherium Wars. Due to the ongoing nature of the conflict, the Dwemer of Skyrim were significantly weakened, resulting in them being conquered by King Gelair, the High King of Skyrim. In the end, none of the Dwemer city-states were able to wrestle control of the forge, and it was instead sealed away. The Aetherium crest needed to open the seal was split into 4 fragments, and then guarded by each of the city-states so that none of them could ever access the site, and it would also prevent others from even trying. At that time, peace finally returned to the Dwemer. Over the next few hundred years, the Dwemer had to fight off occasional invaders to their underground cities, but the next phase of their history came when they offered to shelter the last remaining snow elves in Skyrim. King Harald had exiled the snow elves, but some still remained, trying to hide in the wilderness and eke out some kind of existence. The Dwemer offer of sanctuary came with a catch, though, since the Dwemer were extremely distrustful of anyone, including their own kind. They blinded all of the snow elves and essentially forced them from indentured servitude into outright slavery over the course of the next few hundred years. Finally, around year 680 of the First Era, the snow elves, now referred to as the Falmer, rebelled. The conflict came to be known as the War of the Crag, and it lasted for over 20 years up until the disappearance of the Dwemer. With the Dwemer instantly disappearing, the Falmer took over their cities and remain there to this day. But how did the Dwemer just disappear? This is one of the biggest mysteries in the entire history of Nirn. While we just focused on the Dwemer and their history across Tamriel, there were other major events happening back in their homeland of Vardenfell. Starting in year 668 of the First Era, the Chimer, led by Nerevar, attacked the Dwemer. Sensing an opportunity to reclaim Vardenfell, the Nords of Skyrim entered the war under the leadership of High King Wulfarth. This became known as the War of the First Council. But why did the Chimer attack the Dwemer in the first place? It turns out that the Dwemer had discovered something incredibly powerful deep under Red Mountain. What they discovered was known as the Heart of Lorkhan, an ancient and magical artifact of immense power. The Dwemer tonal architect, Lord Kagranach, had hatched a plan to create what would be a new god, powered by the Heart, to conquer the Chimer and make the Dwemer race immortal. This new god was a huge mechanical golem that, if completed, would have been capable of incredible power with the ability to destroy nearly anything in its path. Once the Chimer learned of this plan, their leader Nerevar confronted the leader of the Dwemer, and after confirmation, Nerevar led the Chimer to war against the Dwemer. The war raged on for decades. Everything came to a head at the Battle of Red Mountain. With the brass golem nearly completed, the Chimer and their allies launched an all-out assault on Red Mountain, where the golem and the Heart of Lorkhan was being held. It was during this battle that the Dwemer suddenly disappeared. Every single member of the entire race simply ceased to exist. This is where speculation as to their sudden disappearance begins. The architect of the brass golem, Chief Tonal Architect Kagranach, had created a set of tools used to harness the power of the Heart of Lorkhan. It was with these tools that he was building the golem, and through it, hoping to achieve immortality for the Dwemer. The most prevalent theory as to why the Dwemer disappeared emerged in the year 201 of the Fourth Era, when a researcher by the name of Arniel Gain at the Mages College of Winterhold began a set of experiments. He was researching the disappearance of the Dwemer and had managed to obtain keening, one of the tools the architect Kagranach used. As soon as he tried to use keening, he too disappeared. It is believed that simply using these tools causes one to disappear, yet no one knows to where it is that the person using the tools disappears to. One theory is that they do indeed obtain immortality, but not in this world. Another theory that was more prevalent in earlier eras was simply that the old gods looked down on the Dwemer for trying to create their own new god. This divine sin is said to have angered the Aedra and Daedra so much that they banished all Dwemer from existence. The truth is, we may never know the actual reason as to why they disappeared. In the aftermath of their disappearance, all that is left of them, thousands of years later, are their ruins. One can still walk the halls of Dwemer cities, collect their artifacts, and see their machines still functioning after all these years. The ruins of Dwemer cities can be incredibly dangerous due to the machines they built millennia ago still functioning as if they were new, but the allure to explore is simply too great for many adventurers. At first glance, it seems that there is no future for the Dwemer. However, since they did suddenly disappear, is it possible that maybe one day they could return? The power that they used, which was strong enough to take them out of existence in this plane of reality, could indeed be strong enough to bring them back. With the Elder Scrolls 6 coming in the future, perhaps we will finally unravel the last mystery of the Dwemer. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe, and as always, thank you so much for watching.